So meanwhile, President Trump is set to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington, D.C. this week, where they're expected to discuss the ongoing negotiations with Iran.
Senior White House correspondent Aishah Hasnie joins us now with the latest. Hey, Aishah.
Hey, good morning to you, Brian, Lawrence, and Ainsley. So that meeting between Netanyahu and Trump has been moved up by a whole week. It's a very urgent meeting now, and the dust-up over negotiations seems to be over the ballistic missiles program that Iran has. This is a statement from Benjamin Netanyahu's office. It says the prime minister believes that all negotiations must include limiting the ballistic missiles and ending support for the Iranian access, and that is in regards to Tehran's support for those militant groups, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in the Palestinian territories. It comes after Friday's talks in which Iran's foreign minister drew a red line and said that they do not want to talk about their ballistics. You'll remember Israel took out a significant amount of Iran's ballistic missiles last year, and last month, Netanyahu said that if Iran tries to build up again, Israel will have to, quote, knock them down. Despite all of this, President Trump, at least on Friday after these talks in Oman, felt that Iran will come to a deal.
Yeah, there's a deal that would be acceptable, but the one thing, and right up front, no nuclear weapons. If we could have made that deal 2 years ago, we would have made that deal, but they weren't willing to do that. Now they are willing to do it, so they're willing to do much more than they would have a year and a half ago.
If they're not willing to, the president says strikes are very much still on the table. Iranian foreign minister responding to that. If the U.S. attacks us, it is evident that we don't have the ability and access to attack U.S. territory and therefore have to attack or retaliate the U.S. bases in the region. Are strikes inevitable?
I don't know that they're inevitable. But if Iran doesn't think President Trump will strike, if they keep just fooling around with these negotiations and they're not serious about taking them somewhere, they have a very short memory. Let's go back less than a year ago. If they stand behind that mule once again, there's going to be a resounding kick.
And that Netanyahu meeting happens this Wednesday. We don't expect to see the president today, Brian. He has a policy meeting later on this evening, but that is closed to the press. Back to you.
All right, Aishah, thanks so much. Great show over the weekend. Meanwhile, the president's got a decision to make. He says, OK, we'll have another round of these talks on the nuclear talks, but I even think that we're talking about the wrong thing. The nuclear program has been set back, if not obliterated. If they're starting a rebuild, they still have a long way to go. The problem is, the president said, we got your back. Unlike President Obama and Joe Biden, when you rioted, we looked the other way. When President Trump is there, he said, we got your back. So they rose up, and 30 to 50,000 were killed in cold blood or put in jail. So now that we're talking about a nuclear program, but I think we're talking about a country that has spent all their money and their revenue on these proxy groups that are killing Israelis and killing Americans. And now they are personally killing Iranians who hate their government, whose government has made it their primary responsibility to destroy Israel and destroy us. As we have found out, they have no missile defense now. They are rebuilding their nuclear program, but it's now vulnerable. And they have ballistic missiles, which they're starting to reconstitute. As General Keane says, they have never been more vulnerable than they are right now, nor have they been more evil and bloodthirsty.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why Benjamin Netanyahu moved up this meeting. It was supposed to be later. He decided to come earlier to Washington, so he's coming on Wednesday. That after Witkoff and Jared Kushner were having negotiations, too, with Iran. So he's very concerned about this. They have a lot to lose, obviously, if they build back up their nuclear sites. But he wants to focus on ballistic missiles. He wants to focus on making sure that that Hamas and Hezbollah don't have relationships with Iran.
And they say that's not on the table. Iran says, I don't know what they're talking about. We're just going to do whatever we want.
Iran says we're only going to focus on nukes. But Donald Trump says the last meeting, he said this on Friday, the last meeting was successful, and it looks like they want to make a deal. But if they don't, there will be steep consequences.
And then they come right out to the press conference and say, yeah, there's no deal as well. Look, I think the main thing is we have to ask ourselves a question. Do we want to keep going in the same cycle with Iran?
Since 1979.
They're not going to give up their nuclear program at any point. They're not going to stop oppressing their people at any point. It's their ideology. And so something has to change. Now, the president, that's his decision. He has to decide, does he want to be the leader that doesn't just set the program back, but ends it for good? And I think that's what he's weighing. I tend to believe that the president is getting all his military resources in place to make that ultimate decision. But we'll see what happens.
All right,
Yeah, I think the main concern he has is the next person to come in worse? Is the IRGC, if they survive, are they going to be worse? And it's just hard to imagine them being worse. They say the Ayatollah is still making decisions.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.